Alright, we are on our way to take Pogo to the vet. Here's little Pogo and Shishai playing a Switch. We took Pogo to the vet and got his booster shots and his little checkup. When we got him, he was 8 weeks old and weighed 8 pounds. And now he is about to turn 12 weeks old and he weighs 15 pounds. He is gaining weight. He's super healthy. He's mostly happy, unless I'm not letting him chew on what he wants to. But I wanted to put some information in here about pet care. And having a pet and taking care of a pet isn't just letting them out to potty and making sure that they have food and water. There's a lot more to it. I have some notes, I have some stuff to read to you, and this is very important stuff. We are planning on getting Pogo neutered as soon as he's old enough. It's not very healthy for a dog to neuter them too young because those hormones help with their development. But once you reach a certain point, those hormones are no longer actually doing any good. There are approximately 2.7 million unwanted pets are euthanized every year in the United States. That is not just international, that's just in the US. Euthanized, that means they are killed simply because they were born. Too many people don't spay and neuter their animals. They think it's cruel or too expensive or whatever, but let me tell you, I have never seen a community that doesn't have at least once a year a free or low cost spay and neuter clinic going on, where you take your pet in and you have to pay very little or nothing to get your pet spayed or neutered. Spay is female, neuter is male. And it's pretty much just like a human, you know, hysterectomy for a woman or a vasectomy for a man. And what this does is in males, it lowers the tendency to aggression. It lowers their tendency to wander. If they're left unattended, they have much lower chance of having a pet that is going to mark territory in your house, which I don't know if you've ever had an animal mark its territory in your house, but cleaning up musky urine from places that should not have urine is a horrible thing to have to do. I'm pretty sure even if it's yours, marking their territory inside your house, it's a horrible smell. I mean, it's so nasty smelling. Very strong scent. You don't want it. With females, you don't have to worry about them going into heat, going into their cycle. Especially female dogs, they bleed when they're going into their heat, like a menstrual cycle. And you either have to go behind them with something and clean it up, put a diaper on them. You know, you have to do something to catch it. And they're pretty much unhappy unless they're mating when they're in season. Males, if they smell a female in season within 10 miles, they go nuts, absolutely nuts, if they are intact, not neutered. They will, you know, tear up your door trying to get out. They'll tear up your house. They'll tear up your yard, they'll tear up your fences, they'll dig through your fences. It's really just not a pleasant thing to have happen. And once they get loose, there you go, they're gonna get hit by a car, hit by a motorcycle, picked up by animal control. You could get ticketed by the police and animal control. You could end up having to go to court because your dog got out of the fence trying to go after a female in season. If they're not neutered, the court could order you to neuter them. So really, it's a little bit of discomfort for the animal, and there are a lot of benefits to spaying and neutering your pet. And not to mention, they tend to live longer lives. They tend to be healthier. They're less stressed. That's what contributes to the longer lifespan and the health, is they have less stress because they're not worried about mating. Animals are creatures of instinct. They don't rationalize that I can't get out there, so I'm not going to worry about it. They know what they want to do, and if they can't do it, it really stresses them out. And it's kind of cruel to not spay and neuter unless you have a purebred and you're, show dogs and you're breeding them. Then you ought to be spaying and neutering. It's really the responsible thing to do. And when it comes to vaccines, I've heard a lot of people don't like vaccinations for their kids or their pets. And some I agree with, some I don't. The core vaccinations for dogs is what I'm going to be talking about today. The core vaccinations I totally agree with. Very important. And they are, on average, parvovirus vaccine, distemper vaccine, hepatitis, canine hepatitis, there is a vaccine for it, and rabies. My dogs also get Lyme and leptospirosis vaccinations as part of their core because of the area I live in. We have a lot of ticks, so the Lyme and lepto goes with hand in hand with the rabies and everything else. Now let me tell you a little bit about why these are important. There's no cure for any of these viruses. No cure, okay? Parvovirus is highly contagious. There are two forms of parvovirus, intestinal and cardiac. The vaccine protects against both, and they can begin getting vaccinated as early as 6 weeks against parvovirus. This is super, super important. It causes severe bloody diarrhea. They become very lethargic, anorexia, which means they're just skin and bones. They lose all their weight. Fever, vomiting, severe weight loss, and 15% of all dogs who catch parvovirus will die. And think about the kind of death that they go through. They're sick. They're feeling horrible. If you've ever had the flu where you're vomiting and you have diarrhea, how do you feel? Do you want your animal to feel like that for days and days until it kills them? It's a horrible death, and there's no cure. Once they catch it, there is no cure. They either fight it off or they die. But there's a vaccine, and the vaccine is highly effective. The distemper vaccine, also canine distemper, there is no cure. Now, it is thought that canine distemper is a cousin to feline leukemia and also can be carried by ferrets. So if you have ferrets as a pet, we have a pet ferret. It is very important to make sure your dogs are vaccinated against canine distemper, and if you have any cats, make sure they're vaccinated against feline leukemia. It causes a high fever, red eyes, watery discharge from the nose and the eyes, again lethargy, anorexia where they drop all their weight, coughing, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, paralysis, and hysteria. And death may result within 2 to 5 painful weeks of the first display of symptoms. There's no cure for this. There is a vaccine to prevent it. On top of that, distemper in particular can leave lifelong problems because it is a virus that attacks the brain and the spinal cord. It can cause nervous system damage, brain damage. Even if they survive, they won't be exactly the same as they were before they got sick. And again, it's not worth taking the chance. Many of them die. A lot of the ones who survive, they have paralysis, permanent paralysis, they have permanent brain damage. It's totally not worth it. Canine hepatitis is in the core vaccines. There is no cure for canine hepatitis, but there is a vaccine. It attacks the liver, kidneys, eyes, blood vessels. It shows with a fever, disorders of the central nervous system, various disorders of the central nervous system, collapse of blood vessels, coagulation disorders, anorexia, lethargy, vomiting, diarrhea, enlarged liver, inflammation of the brain. This again can easily kill your dog, but it can be prevented. Rabies. This is the big one. Everyone's heard about rabies, right? The foaming at the mouth, the going crazy. All right, it affects the brain and the spinal cord of all mammals. Any creature that has hair or fur can catch rabies through saliva, blood, urine, any kind of bodily fluid. And animals with rabies drool a lot, and there is a high concentration of the virus in the saliva. So if you get bit, well, if it was your dog, that could have been prevented, because there's no cure, okay? I want to read to you, this is at pets.webmd.com. Rabies is a virus that may affect the brain and spinal cord of all mammals, including dogs, cats, and humans. Though preventable, there is a good reason that the word rabies evokes fear in people. The disease has been reported in every state except Hawaii, and everywhere throughout the world except for Australia and Antarctica. Annually, rabies causes the death of more than 50,000 humans and millions of animals worldwide. Once symptoms appear, the disease results in fatality. So once there are symptoms, you will die, okay? No two ways about it. Since animals who have rabies secrete large amounts of virus in their saliva, the disease is primarily passed to dogs through a bite from an infected animal. It can be also transmitted through a scratch or when saliva makes contact with mucous membranes or an open fresh wound. The most common carriers of rabies virus in this country are bats, raccoons, skunks, and foxes. Initially, a dog who's become infected may show extreme behavioral changes.
Bye bye. You got that.
Yeah. Initially, a dog who's become infected may show extreme behavioral changes, such as restlessness or apprehension, both of which may be compounded by aggression. Friendly dogs may become irritable, while normally excitable dogs may become more docile. A dog may bite or snap at any form of stimulus, attacking other animals, humans, and even inanimate objects. A fever may also be present at this stage. As the virus progresses, an infected dog may become hypersensitive to touch, light, and sound. They may eat unusual things and hide in dark places. Paralysis of the throat and jaw muscles may follow, resulting in the well-known symptom of foaming at the mouth. Disorientation, incoordination, and staggering may occur, caused by paralysis of the hind leg. Other classic signs of rabies include loss of appetite, weakness, seizures, and sudden death. The virus usually incubates from 2 to 8 weeks before signs are noticed. However, transmission of the virus through saliva can happen as early as 10 days before symptoms appear. So if your dog was to go outside and if they were to contract the rabies virus, they could incubate the virus inside their body, showing no signs or symptoms for up to 8 weeks, and showing absolutely no signs or symptoms of the virus, can transmit that virus to you, your family, other pets, and other animals they come in contact with up to 10 days before they show symptoms. This is a very nasty virus, okay? Because not only can they transmit it before they show symptoms, there's no cure, and it results in death every time. Unvaccinated dogs who are allowed to roam outside without supervision are most at risk for infection. Now also remember the other animals that were mentioned, bat, raccoons. These things are present in urban areas just as prominently as in rural areas. Everywhere is at risk for rabies, and it is not worth taking the chance. Especially, I got a kid, it is not worth taking the chance that one of my dogs could go out to potty and come across a bat or a raccoon or something else infected, catch it, and transmit it to my family. Not worth it. They get vaccinated every single time. Not to mention, I do not know of any place in the lower 48 state where it is legal to not vaccinate against rabies. Everywhere that I know of, it is required by law that you vaccinate your dogs against rabies. Even if you don't vaccinate against anything else, they have to be vaccinated against rabies. There is no accurate test to diagnose rabies in live animals. The direct fluorescent antibody test is the most accurate test for diagnosis, but it requires brain tissue and it can only be performed after the death of the animal. There is no treatment or cure for rabies once symptoms appear. Since rabies presents a serious public health threat, dogs who are suspected of having the virus are most often euthanized. Animals who have been bitten by something that is suspected of having rabies or known to have had rabies are usually euthanized, whether you like it or not. How can rabies be prevented? Keeping your dog up to date with vaccinations is not only essential to prevention, it's the law. Check with your veterinarian about the right vaccine and vaccination schedule for your dog. In many areas of the country, it's mandatory that all domestic dogs and cats are vaccinated after the age of 3 months. Vaccinating your pet not only protects him from getting rabies, it protects him if he bites someone. Dogs who have bitten humans are required to be confined for at least 10 days to see if rabies develops. And if the animal's vaccination records are not current, a more lengthy quarantine or even euthanasia may be mandated. If you are not sure about the laws in your town, consult your local animal affairs agency. If you think your dog has had contact with a rabid animal, even if they're vaccinated, okay, call a vet for an immediate appointment. Report the incident to your local health department and follow all of their recommendations. You'll also need to contact your animal control office and let them know the animal who bit your pet is at large, if they are at large. And if they're not still at large, give them the last location that you know of, where it happened, any information that you can. Think of it as filing a police report for your dog so that they will be able to apprehend and remove the animal from the environment so that it won't happen to anyone else. After having contact with a rabid animal, the rabies virus may remain alive on your pet's skin or fur for up to 2 hours. It's best not to touch them during this time, and if you must handle them, wear gloves and protective clothing. A dog who is up to date on his vaccinations, who has been bitten by a possibly rabid animal, should also be given a rabies booster immediately and kept under observation for 45 days. If you think you have been bitten by a rabid animal, call your doctor immediately for instructions. If you don't have a regular doctor, call any doctor. Go to the emergency room. Make sure to get medical attention immediately. You may need to get a series of injections to protect your health and your life. Contact your local health department to report the bite. Do not ever attempt to handle or capture a wild animal, especially if they're acting strangely, like a nocturnal animal who's out during the day or an animal who acts unusually tame. Report the animal to local animal control officers as soon as possible. Do not ever attempt to capture wild animals on your own. In fact, it's wise to safeguard your home against wild animals. As you saw, it was a pretty quick and painless process to get Pogo's booster shot. Please always take care of your pets and do the responsible thing. Get them vaccinated and get them spayed and neutered. Make sure you get your dog license, and that protects them and it protects you. It may seem silly. You may think you don't need a dog license, you don't need a rabies vaccination, you don't need them to be spayed or neutered until your female dog comes home pregnant, or your male dog gets hit by a car trying to go across the road to get to a female that's in season, or turns and starts becoming aggressive because their hormones are crazy and out of whack, and you don't want them getting sick from preventable illnesses. It's just common sense, and it's showing that you love your animal to make sure that they are taken care of. So that's it for this vlog episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up, let me know that you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the little bell beside it to be notified of all my new videos. You'll become part of my bell brigade, and I welcome you to join. I'll see you next time.